Goedemorgen.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome on our first webinar of this year. As you probably all know, we have been busy and we are still busy in joining forces with complementary, like-minded companies in order to be able to draw from a much broader capability and expertise base to help our customers even more extensively. For this session, we're joining forces with our sister company Luminous on a topic that is close to our and especially their heart. It's about cloud. And we did a nice lineup of speakers, starting with Piet van Dongen, product manager at XPLUS, who will give us an insight on how they are leveraging the cloud in order to modernize and make their product even more competitive. Then Piet will take over with a story, some insights on how to tackle the challenge of integrating cloud software in the cloud. And last but not least, our own XPLUS consultant, colleague Peter, will give us some insights in real life experiences in migrating infrastructure from a classical data center into the cloud. Before we start, a couple of practical details. Please stay muted. If you have questions, ask them via the question and answer. So not anymore via the chat, do it via the question and answer. As we've seen in the past, we've seen some quite lively discussions happening in that area. So don't hesitate to interact and ask questions there. Practically, after the session, we'll send you an email with a link to the presentations in the coming weeks. And if you have any further questions, don't hesitate to contact us. So, Ivo, I leave the word to you as to open the session.
Yes, thank you, Bart, for the introduction. I will share my screen. One moment. And start the presentation. Almost. Yes, so Bart, thank you. Good morning, all. My name is Ivo van der Raad. Let me start with a short introduction of myself. For the past 15 years, I have been active in the IT and retail industry and mainly in the point of sale market. Today, I'm a product manager and also business unit manager within the company Wuytack. We have a headquarter in Den Bosch, but also in Wommegem near Antwerp. So my company Wuytack is a business and cloud consultancy partner, and we work closely together with Luminous, the daughter company, as said by Bart. In the field of SAP and Microsoft products and services is Wuytack active, and we also have our own IP product, XV Retail. And since already 2007, we deliver our in-house built point of sale solution for tier 1 and tier 2 retailers in Europe, like retailers like Action, Brico, Ino, Panos, and other retailers in Netherlands and Belgium. With already 50 plus employees, we build and run our XV point of sale solution. And at this moment, in more than 3,000 stores in 10 countries in Europe, our point of sale solution is active. We started as a point of sale solution with a unique native SAP integration, but already we have the idea of using the power of partners and partner solutions instead of building it all by ourselves. But at that moment, as I said, we started in 2007. What was not available in technology, we had to build ourselves. Think of scalability, availability, system integration to support all thousands of cash registers and process the millions of sales transactions each day. Now, if we look in recent years, we have seen major changes in the retail industry, but also in technology. Consumers do not buy products or service in a store only for a long time already, but adopt any channel that the world has to offer, like social commerce, marketplaces, pop-up stores, drop shipments. And besides the use of new devices by the consumer, like tablets and mobile, there's also a strong desire to apply these devices in a store. Like mobile self-scan by the consumer. We already have self-checkouts, mobile checkouts, kiosks, and what we have seen, for example, in the Amazon Go stores, cashierless stores also. So a lot of is changing in the retail industry and also in the technology. The new devices and touchpoints require also a new technology stack, and consumers as well as employees have high expectations of the user experience. What you use today on your apps, on your mobile, you expect also that user experience on your job as a cashier in a store. What we also have seen, of course, is that the customer journeys are becoming more varied due to new channels and techniques and results in complex integrations. Now, of course, retailers anticipate on it. And to make this a reality, you need systems that work well together, including a POS solution, web shop, ERP, CRM, integration with a marketplace. But before you know it, you've got a patchwork setup of all standalone and connected systems, and responding quickly to customers' ever-changing need is more challenging than ever. So in this slide, for example, you can see that many integrations a retailer tries to make its omni-channel ambition, but also the lack of a single source of truth. You see the PPE, that's a price and promotion engine. You see it on the POS, on the web shop, sometimes also on an app backend. The basket, if you create a basket, it is on the POS in store. There's another basket on your web shop or maybe on the app. And all the integration with the surrounding systems, like the loyalty provider or your customer information, every new touch point or channel you need to integrate with all those systems. And there's a lot of effort and time to market to make it possible. So what are the responses by on these changes by the retailers, but also by us? So retailers must be able to react more quickly to changes in available devices and channels to fulfill customers' wishes in their customer journey. We call that unified commerce. So retailers and wholesalers tend to apply to a best of breed approach instead of best of suite, in order to respond faster to the challenges that unified commerce poses. These changes require serverless computing and cloud-native architecture to achieve scale and growth for our product as well as for our customers. So if you go a step further, Gartner says that composable commerce must be adopted for the future of applications in retail and digital commerce. So what is composable commerce? We see it here in the slide, but if I say it in a shorter, composable commerce architecture means that every component is pluggable, scalable, and replaceable at any moment, so without affecting the other parts composing the application. So we believe in best of breed and composable commerce principles to optimally serve our customers. So based on the challenges of our customers and the new technical developments, we have had to adjust our strategy. The vision and strategy of company, in this case our XV business unit, is the starting point for future determination of the business objective and their execution. So this is where it all starts. In our change strategy, we aim to move from a monolithic point of sale solution powered by partners and cloud technology to composable commerce solutions that can be used both in store and online. From pure point of sale solution to unified commerce service. We work together with our selected partners Luminous and AWS for the cloud transition. So our strategy has resulted in a number of principles for architecture and development. API first for easy and standard integration in a best of breed environment. Headless architecture to support all kinds of new touch points and split the front end and the back end, because earlier we had a monolithic point of sale solutions and the front and the back end were one. Cloud native, but still with an offline in-store fallback. we are active in high volume business like Action, supermarkets, and they still need offline fallback and an edge solution. And we embrace the technology that is standard on the markets, such as the AWS managed services. Our main question was, we go for greenfield or brownfield implementation? Do we start all over again with a brand new solution, or do we go for reuse? So starting over in software development has some great advantages, and that you can make all your choices in technology stack without restrictions. However, your time to market in our case will be longer, and our customers have needs today. But the question was also, how will you renovate while the store is open? And physically, for our retailers, the store is open. So, of course, we did it step by step. So we opted for a hybrid approach. First, we turned XV Retail into an open solution with APIs for integration with the outside world. Then we took the rough diamonds from XV and moved them in separate components. For example, our basket engine and pricing and promotion engine. These components are used by our XV point of sale solution, but also via an API by our new mobile POS. And these components, the red area, still runs in store. So that was the first step for us to go, secondly, to the cloud. Then we started to bring component per component to the cloud. First components we have in AWS already. That is our pricing and promotion engine. As a result, we already offer our customers a unified pricing and promotion solution for offline and online channels. So with this, we immediately add value to our customers. Step by step, we are moving and bring components to AWS. We use the standard services of AWS as much as possible so that we create business value, and we can use AWS for the foundation to have secure, scalable, high available and easy integratable solution. I can say that because we use the AWS services, we have a 2 times shorter time to market than we go for build by ourselves in our own data centers. For new developments, we have chosen for a greenfield implementation and will make even more use of AWS managed services. So the components we will run in containers like Fargate in AWS, but maybe new developments we can run in serverless solutions of AWS like AWS Lambda. So finally, a total overview of our solution. Below you see in the red flag that is in store, the blue area is cloud. We have an open architecture. We integrate API first. Also for consuming APIs, we built our own reverse APIs to integrate, for example, with CRM, gift card payment providers, and the integration layer that can be every solution like CPI or Dell Boomi, all the integration platforms which are available on the market. So we concentrate on building everything retail focused, but integration that for now on we can do it by another department specialized in integration. So still available also in store, the Edge solution, and XV is the king of the shopping basket also online today. So built on a solid AWS managed cloud foundation for a short time to market. Anywhere. So as a result, we not only now have our solution in store available, we opened the door of our store and made our first rough XV POS diamonds. At this moment, our pricing and promotion engine polished and shiny for every sales channel available. I want to thank you for your attention, and also we thank our partners Luminous and AWS with whom we make this interesting journey together. I will hand over to Piet for the follow-up in this breakfast session.
Thank you, Ivo. Let me share my screen. Yes, so thank you, Ivo, for sharing the Wuytack story. It sounds to me like the world of retail is evolving rapidly, and I'm excited to see your plans for the future. What struck me and what's a central theme in the story I'm about to tell is the ongoing acceleration of change we are seeing. So customers expect increasingly safer, better, faster, almost tailor-made solutions as the technology evolves. And this speed up poses a couple of significant challenges for people concerned with creating software. And there are a couple of forces pulling us in a certain direction. The first one is the importance of and value of data, which businesses collect in increasing amounts to ensure they can continuously upgrade their offerings. And the second one is that of public cloud technology, as Ivo mentioned. So specifically the programmable pay-as-you-go offerings of public clouds like AWS, Azure, GCP. And to shift gears, organizations need to leverage these giant shoulders, like Ivo said. So if we take this reality and look back a couple of years, 3 focus areas emerge, as you can see on my slide. So the first one is a shift from centrally managed self-hosted application landscapes to distributed solutions. So let's say an organization has a few systems containing customer data and many custom-made services and clients that integrate with them. A decade ago, it would have self-hosted this custom and third-party software combination. So they would have integrated them using a variety of service buses, API endpoints, messaging solutions, and self-built systems, as Ivo mentioned. And then the company would have slowly evolved the landscape whenever a new functionality had to be built or a new system had to be added. But today, thanks to the advent of software as a service, our organizations need to move much faster to keep up. So our landscapes are fragmenting, and keeping expertise in-house is costly, and it reduces your innovation budget. So now we are seeing the second challenge. The technology market shift to SaaS and managed cloud services, combined with the never-ending desire for better functionality from your customers, force you to gain traction and move more dynamically. And that can only mean, whether you want to or not, that you need to let go of some of the control you used to have. But you still need to integrate everything. You must learn how to leverage new ways of integrating your software. And I propose you use those giant shoulders from the cloud vendors and shift a lot of the heavy lifting onto the public cloud and SaaS providers' offerings. All right, so now we are looking at what seems to be a paradox. As I said, we need to increase our rate of change to keep and gain a competitive edge. And we do that by accelerating our delivery cycle and reducing our time to value. So on the one hand, we need to become much more customer intimate. We need to connect with our customers. We need to understand what they want, and we need to respond to their needs, as you see in blue here. And we need control over our software delivery process to do so. However, we already know that we have to give others some control. We no longer have total power over all the underlying infrastructure and not of the services and software we need to integrate with. And this is the paradox of delivering value end-to-end through software using the cloud and software as a service. So we need more speed, while at the same time handing over the steering wheel and gas pedal sometimes to other parties, third parties. So this seems like a paradox, but it isn't an actual paradox. So we can gain speed by giving up control, but we must be smart about it. Let me explain. In 2 parts. So the first part here, you see an example of an architecture of an AI-powered photo retouching app, just a generic example. At the top left in green, you see the mobile application. So that uses custom algorithms developed in-house, running somewhere in the backend or the app itself. And it would be best to have complete control here, because this is what gives you a competitive edge. So you need to develop this in-house. And to develop and maintain the algorithms, your data scientists and business stakeholders, they need to gain continuous insight into your users' behavior. So the blue dots you see there in the middle are the systems and services that help you collect, combine, transform, and finally visualize your users' behavioral data using managed services or third-party tooling and a hosting platform. So you don't need complete control here, and should opt to hand off this management to its providers. However, you need still control over integrating this part of the landscape. Then there's the so-called boring stuff, at least from a software creator's point of view. At the bottom right in orange, that's the critical infrastructure. So your customer does not care if you manage this yourself or not, because they have no idea who's doing this. It's not visible to them. But like water and electricity, this is essential stuff and it needs to work always. So you want less control here because you don't want to spend costly resources managing all this highly available, virtually infinitely scalable stuff. You want to leverage the years of experience of a party that knows how to run critical infrastructure while paying only for what you use. So this we outsource. And combined, this is the first part of the answer to our so-called paradox of less control and more speed. The second part is about integrating smartly. So here's an integration perspective of the same solution. A mix of self-hosted applications integrated with managed third-party services and externally hosted SaaS emerges here. So at the infrastructure level, also a combination of public cloud, private data center maybe, and the magical but non-transparent SaaS infrastructure. So we combine integration solutions here to make something of these mixed ingredients. And the general rule of thumb is fairly simple. The more control we have over the life cycles of our components, the tighter we can couple them. And less control then necessitates looser coupling. So on the left-hand side, we see all the stuff we control entirely, the green stuff. And we integrate these parts using direct connections or push notification services and message queues. So that makes for a distributed application. In the middle are the managed service we employ. So we use a central event bus here. And that way we can decouple the integration slightly more than on the left-hand side by introducing a central but smart and flexible integration solution. And at the far end on the right side in orange are the external parts of our landscape. So SaaS offerings, maybe another cloud or externally hosted service. And since we have no control over them, we decouple them using data transfer services at the edge of our platforms. So this helps us integrate by transforming data and sending it upstream or downstream. And that way we can still evolve the rest of our application, and the SaaS and external service providers can develop independently of us. So if an API contract changes, we only have to change the data transformations in the data transfer services, and the rest can keep running as before. And that gives us the second part of the answer to our speed up with less control paradox. So like the previous page, we need to realize that our landscape consists of groups of subsystems grouped by the properties, in this case, the amount of control we have over them. And from this perspective, we can then integrate them using fit-for-purpose integration solutions. And that way we still control our total solution, but not all its internals. Okay, a small example of this philosophy in practice. Ora, one of the biggest direct writers insurance companies in the Netherlands, asked Luminous to lead the migration of the application landscape from on-premise data center to the cloud, in this case AWS. And the landscape was and is quite large, as you can see here, with almost 1,000 integrations between internal and external services, clients, databases, and so forth. And we made that in about a year, partly thanks to what I just told, smartly integrating. So most of Ora's moving parts are under their control. So they are integrated using HTTP APIs and message queues mostly. And when moving to AWS, we opted to mostly re-platform these applications from application service running Java applications to a managed Kubernetes cluster running containers. And many of Ora's customer data resides in third-party systems. And some are not even in the same cloud. So we employed the tactic we saw on the previous slide, loose coupling for SaaS integrations using data transfer services at the edge, and an event bus for third-party applications that are running locally, mixed with some message queuing. A big help here was the existence of a service-oriented architecture already in place, which is a good stepping stone towards a more event-driven and thus cloud-native architecture. That's the bonus on the right-hand side. So being in the cloud after the migration brought Ora many opportunities to optimize its solutions further. One example is the way they are evolving their batch application. So Previously, they relied on self-managed servers running 24/7, even though most of their batch applications only actively did something for, let's say, a few minutes to an hour a day. So in the public cloud, you should aim to pay only for what you use. So we designed these new batch applications, not made from monolithic Java applications deployed in WebSphere, but mostly a combination of serverless managed services like Amazon SQS queues and AWS Lambda functions. So that drastically reduced the amount of code they had to write, the resources they used, and the costs they accrued. And Aura can now take this extra time and money and spend that on creating valuable stuff for their customers. So thus gaining a competitive edge over their competition. So now we have a complete high overview answer to our faux paradox of needing less control, but more speed. So let's do a short recap before I leave this stage and hand off to Peter. First off, from a market perspective, companies are forced to move away from centrally controlled, neatly contained solutions running in their data centers towards integrating their locally managed custom building blocks with third-party software and externally hosted SaaS solutions. And we then identified a two-part solution to the problem. The first part was about being smart, about spending your valuable time and resources. For the user-facing stuff, we saw a need for complete control of the software development and deployment lifecycle. And everything that powers this end-to-end solution can be hired as a service or bought as a product from a cloud provider. The other half of the answer was about being smart about integrating the fragmented landscape. Three groups went from fully controllable and evolvable to managed services and non-transparent SaaS solutions. Tight coupling is a good solution for the distributed applications under your control, but the more you move towards external services, the looser your coupling needs to be. So there we leverage message queues, event buses, or in the case of integrating SaaS, data transfer services. And so our paradox is no longer a paradox, it's dissolved. Thank you all for listening to my story. I appreciate the attendance, and I will be available for questions in the Q&A section of Teams. And Peter, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Piet. I will share my part of the presentation. Is my screen viewable to everybody?
Yes, it is.
It is.
Okay.
It's good.
Thank you. So yes, I will be sharing some real-life experience while migrating some infrastructure from data centers to the public cloud. Before I will share this experience with you, I would just want to provide a bit of context. Where did I get these experiences from? And I've done this through several use cases, but I combine them a bit so it's more of a general use case so you have an idea where I gained these experiences. So it usually starts with something like this, an on-premise data center, or maybe something like this. I hope for most people this is not the case. So let's go back to the bit more organized thing. So an on-premise data center, it can be several data centers. Sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 3 with a backup and disaster recovery in there. Around 100 customers you need to serve. It can be more, it can be less. Can be internal or external customers. 220 applications or even more or a bit less, and 400 services. That's a bit of the context. You have this data center on-premise, and that's the use case, in fact. And then you want to get them to the cloud. So far, so good. Well, I can tell you at least of my experiences is between 1.5 and 2 years it will take you, and sometimes even longer, to get to that cloud. Is that easy? No, it's not easy. It's doable. Yes, it's doable, but sometimes it is a burden. And that's where I gained experiences from. What is the approach? It's a more general approach. First, you assess what is there. You will be surprised. People think they know what they have in their data centers, but it isn't the case. So you need to really assess what we have, what applications, what services. Second of all, you need to design some new solutions in the public cloud. If you want to take your infrastructure, move it to a public cloud, you must make sure that it can land there. Third part, you need to build these solutions to make sure it can land. Then, of course, test. Don't forget the testing, very important. And then, of course, migrate your servers and your applications to the public cloud. And then, hopefully, close your data center. So this is a bit of the approach. So based on this, I have 8 experiences I want to share with you today. Let's start with the first one. First experience, which I call top-down, bottom-up, which means on the left-hand side, you need support from your management, from your board of directors to have the strategy committed. They need to be involved. That's very important. You need to have the budget to get there. That's very important. Second of all, on the right-hand side, you also need a community from internal people that support the strategies, that support going to the cloud. And why do I say that? Well, I've seen cases where one of them was not there on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, let's start with the fact that it was not supported by management or the board of directors, for instance. While you start with this journey of 2 years, and after 6 months, you have burned a lot of money, and then the board of directors or the manager will come with, hey, what is going on? So you need their support. It's a two-year long journey, so make sure it's there. On the other hand, you also need people to support it. If this it's not clear, if they don't support it, then your solutions will not work. And people start to go away if they see something is not working. So you might have people that are leaving, might have people that are malcontent. So make sure both are there. As an architect, you play an important role here. Make sure that you communicate the right messages to the board and the right messages to this community. So that would be my first recommendation or my first lesson learned. Second of all, you need to provide guidance to people. If you want them to make sure that things are migrated to the cloud, they need to have some guidance. Otherwise they will do things you don't like. And I've given some examples here. But it's very important to give them guidance, like say we want to go cloud first, and we want to go for AWS, or you might go for public cloud, but at least have some guidance. Sometimes things cannot be followed, but then at least you know they are deviating from it. So that will also be one of my lessons learned here. As an architect also, they're very, very important. You can help creating these principles. And I would propose keep the principles to a limit of 10. It's not a hard limit, but if you have too much, then it tends to go wrong. If you have too little, then the guidance is not clear enough. So here, very, very important. And you can relate, I also seen in the previous presentations, principles need to be there. Third one, and this is a quote from one of the presidents of the United States. If you want to make enemies, try to change something. People are doing things in classical data centers sometimes for 20 or 30 years. They are used to doing things. Well, the big problem is they'll probably want to do these things again in the public cloud, which might not be a good idea. I've seen some examples in the previous presentations where you say you need to get the advantage of cloud. If you take a server, it's up and running all the time, but you only need it for 10 minutes a day. Well, if you just migrate to the cloud and set it on every 24 hours, it will take you a lot of money. That's the first thing. So people need to start thinking out of these silos and these walls. You need to think outside of the box. How do you do that? Not that easy, but for me, what works is try to find your evangelist in the company. Try to find people that are cloud-minded, that know how things work, and start to bring them into the teams that need to create these solutions. That's what worked for me. Also, make sure if people need to go to the cloud, they might need to change their job a bit or might need to change their approach a bit. Train these people, make sure they know how cloud is working and what benefits it can bring. And focus when you try to bring these solutions into the cloud, focus on the added value. Like I said, server running 24 hours, you only need it 10 minutes. Don't leave it up and running 24 hours in the public cloud. It will cost you a lot of money. It's one example, of course. So voila, that's the third experience I wanted to share with you. Then maybe a classical one and maybe an easy one, but for me, not that easy. I think beware communication. It's a too long journey. Communicate what you're doing, but as an architect, you need to change your communication based on the audience. If you want to go to a board or management, you need to change your language. You need to talk about return on investment and stuff like that. If you want to talk to architects, then use your common language for architects like Archimate, drawings and views, stuff like that. If you want to talk to development people or IT people, change your language. As an architect, you play an important role here, I say, and that's one of the most important things of being an architect, for me at least. It's my experience. So that will be the fourth experience I would like to share with you. Then you're in the public cloud or you want to go to the public cloud, keep your cloud vendors close as possible. If you can't have contact with a cloud vendor like Microsoft or Amazon, then try to go to a partner that has. Why do I say that? Very important. You want to try to predict what is coming to you. You don't know really the roadmap. You know what the marketing people are saying, but you want to get a bit of the head of the marketing roadmap. So that's very important to know what's coming to you, so you can assess what is the impact. Can we use this? Does it has value? Yes or no? You also want to try, and I say try because it's nearly impossible to change Microsoft or the way Microsoft goes or Amazon goes, but it's still important to try to influence some things. I have seen cases where bigger companies can influence Microsoft if there are issues with something. But then again, you need to have some channel to the partner or to the vendor to make sure you can influence this. One example is you can have contact with groups that are in Redmond that are creating the products. If you have the right channel, if you know the right people, you can have that. So try to influence that, try to have that, keep your vendors or your partners very, very close. Then you're migrating service, and this one is a real case I had before. You're ready, you assessed, you said this application can go, the server is ready, you want to move, and then you see all these surrounding services you have forgotten, and you can laugh, but it really happened. So you're ready, you want to move, and then you say, damn, I don't have any connection to this server. I don't have a management host to jump to. I don't have monitoring services in place. So then it's back to the drawing board. So please don't forget your shared services. In the most data centers that are of quite quality, they will have them. So think about monitoring, think about jump hosts, think about VPN connections, all the things that surround these servers and these applications that you need for support. Also here, very important, don't do it one-on-one in the cloud. If you have a jump host today, then think about the services that your cloud server provider provides, because they probably have a jump host service and you do not need to create it one-on-one. It would not be a good idea. The same with monitoring. Most of the cloud providers have these services in place. See if they will fit your requirements, and don't just put a monitoring server back into the cloud. That's probably not the best value. So don't forget the shared services, very important. Then, if you create these solutions in the cloud and working with the teams that need to do it, beware of the "I know it's impossible" statement. I've seen cases where people say, yeah, it's not possible because I've seen it. Well, the cloud tends to go very fast, and it might be the case that it's already possible. And I've seen cases, and I can give some examples, where people said to me, Oracle databases in Microsoft Azure is undoable because Oracle counts its licenses based on the physical core of the processor, and it will therefore count every virtual processor that is in Azure. That was true 3 years ago, but it's not true anymore 6 months later. So beware of the things that are changing very, very fast in the public cloud. And I can give another example. People said to me, this big server we need for SAP with a lot of cores, it cannot happen in Azure. It's not available. Well, guess what? 3 months later, this capacity was available. So please, also there I can revert to one of the previous experiences I shared. Keep your partners close and know what is possible and not, and make sure you know the roadmap and what is coming. Very important. And then the final one, which I call the empty nest syndrome, will not happen or not even immediately. You think about this public cloud, and you want to move your on-premise data center to the cloud, and you think by the end of this 1.5 year journey, everything will be in the public cloud. Well, there might be some edge cases where you might think about having some rack space in your data center to keep some applications alive that might not go well or fit well into the cloud. I'll give an example. If you have an application that is very old and you need to only support it for 1.5 years because it's end of life, then you might think about keeping it on-prem for a while unless moving it to the public cloud. So after 2 years, you might clean out your complete data center, but there might still be some rack space available for some edge cases. Also important to keep that in mind. And then, well, that was my 8th experience I wanted to share. So from key takeaways, I wanted to share with you. Make sure you have the strategic support from the board, very important, budgeting, but also communication towards the company. It's a 2-year journey, so it needs to be there and very clear. Provide guidance as an architect with the principles. Do your communication and change your communication based on the audience that you want to attack. And of course, keep your cloud vendors close. That will be my key takeaways. And that was it for my presentation.
And with these wise words, we're closing this session. Many thanks, Ivo, Piet, and Peter, for sharing your experiences. If you have any further questions.
Bart, there is still a question from Alexander.
Oh, yeah.
He asked, Ivo, how are the teams organized? Is there an end-to-end responsible team? I think that's interesting if Ivo could still answer that.
Yeah, good question. We did a lot of changes in our organization and the team structure the past year. First, we had several Scrum teams, and they all did the same. At this moment, we have 4 teams. We have feature teams working on the customer demand. We have one roadmap team working more on the components in store, and we have a foundation team. And the foundation team is responsible for everything which is necessary for the other teams. So they are also building together with the CTech Cloud team and Luminous on the whole AWS landing zone, and making everything possible for the other teams to do their work.
Alexander, is that an answer to your question?
More or less. Thank you very much, Ivo.
So thank you for joining this session. Thank you, Ivo, Piet, Peter, for sharing these insights. If you have any further question, don't hesitate to get in contact with us, either via your normal channels or either via our, the contact person mentioned there. And follow us up on LinkedIn or in our communication, because we're already staging up a next webinar on an interesting topic where we'll communicate on very short in the future. Many thanks. Have a nice day and a very nice weekend. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.